The Vralic were old, wise, and unshaken. For thousands of years, they had watched civilizations rise and fall across the stars. War, to them. So when the Galactic Council allowed Earth to defend its first off-world colony, the Vralic sent a group of observers to record humanity's debut in interstellar conflict. They expected noise, fear, and disorder. Instead, what they found was something entirely different. The humans were quiet, focused. Their war rooms were calm, their soldiers precise. There were no grand speeches or desperate cries, just plans, cold and sharp. The Vralic watched as humans launched a counterstrike with perfect timing, disabling enemy satellites before their opponents even knew they were under attack. It wasn't rage driving them, it was calculation. And when a Vralic scholar asked a human commander what guided their tactics, the answer was chillingly simple: experience. But how? Earth had never fought in space before. That night, one of the Vralic couldn't sleep. He kept replaying the human assault in his mind. Not because of the destruction, but because of the silence. Something about these humans felt ancient, as if war was not new to them, only the battlefield. The Vralic observers expected the next human move to be a typical bombardment, loud, destructive, and short-sighted. Instead, they witnessed something far more unsettling. Without firing a single shot, humans took control of the enemy's forward base. First, the enemy's lights went out. Then, their comms began broadcasting strange human voices in their own language, voices of commanders they trusted, giving false orders. Supplies vanished overnight, weapons malfunctioned, and rumors spread like wildfire that the humans could see through walls, that they knew every plan before it was made. Panic grew. When the enemy finally surrendered, they were shocked to find only a small human team had been near them the entire time. The Vralic were speechless. This wasn't just strategy, it was something darker, something older. Humans didn't break the body first, they broke the mind. One Vralic scholar began digging into Earth's past and discovered tales of cold wars, deception, and psychological tricks used long before humanity reached the stars. These tactics weren't new, they were simply evolved. That night, more Vralic lost sleep. They realized humans didn't need overwhelming power to win a war. They only needed fear, confusion, and time. And once those things took root, victory was already theirs. The Vralic observers were still trying to understand how humans fought when something even stranger happened. A powerful enemy fleet, fully armed and ready to strike a human colony, simply vanished. No distress signals, no explosions, no wreckage. Just silence. The only thing left was a floating escape pod, drifting in space, containing one terrified survivor. He was shaking, eyes wide, and kept whispering a name the Vralic had never heard before: Phantom 6. Curious and concerned, the Vralic asked the humans about it. They got no answer, only nervous smiles and a quiet glance between commanders. As the Vralic investigated further, they found traces of something disturbing: security logs erased, cameras disabled, doors unlocked from the inside. It was as if someone had walked through the fleet like a shadow, unnoticed, unstoppable. The humans didn't confirm anything, but one admiral finally said, "Some units don't exist on paper. They exist only when needed." That night, even the bravest Vralic couldn't sleep. If the Ghost Division was real, it meant humans had forces so secret, so precise, they could destroy an entire fleet without leaving a mark. And worse, it meant they were willing to use them without hesitation or warning. The war was nearing its end, and the enemy, beaten, scattered, and exhausted, finally surrendered on a mining moon called Greven 4. The Vralic observers prepared themselves for the aftermath. They had seen many surrenders in their time: public executions, brutal interrogations, sometimes entire cities wiped clean in revenge. But what the humans did next was not revenge. It was something far colder. The captured enemy soldiers were not harmed. Instead, they were treated with kindness. Wounded enemies were given medical aid. They were fed, given blankets, even spoken to with respect. At first, the Vralic thought this was a rare display of human compassion. But then they noticed something strange. The enemy officers, once proud and loyal, began to avoid eye contact with their own troops. Some sat alone in silence. Others cried. A few even asked to stand trial for war crimes they hadn't committed. The Vralic couldn't understand why. Until one human officer explained, mercy, when unexpected, is heavier than punishment. The humans weren't being kind. They were unraveling the enemy from within. By showing mercy, they were forcing the enemy to face their own guilt, their own failures. The Vralic realized this tactic was older than any weapon. It was psychological warfare at its deepest level. Kindness used as a mirror, reflecting everything the enemy wanted to forget. It made them question their purpose, their orders, their leaders. The Vralic, who once thought they had seen every form of war, now watched in silence, disturbed. This was not just about winning. It was about changing the enemy forever. And that night, more Vralic chose not to sleep. Not because they feared pain or destruction, but because they had seen a new kind of weapon. A quiet one. One that left no scars on the body, but deep wounds on the soul. When the Vralic returned to their homeworld, they were not the same. Their calm expressions were gone, replaced by quiet stares and restless minds. They gave their final report to the High Council, but their words were careful, almost hesitant, as if speaking the truth might somehow summon it again. They explained that humanity had won the war, not with superior weapons or numbers, but with something far more terrifying: understanding. Humans had studied every type of war long before they ever reached space. While other species learned warfare through loss and necessity, humans had practiced it during peace. They played games of strategy as children, studied battle tactics in schools, watched stories of war unfold on screens, and wrote entire books about conflict, not just for survival, but for thought. The Vralic Council listened in silence, as one of the observers confessed he could no longer sleep peacefully. They prepare without even knowing it, he said. They train their minds in peace, so when war comes, they're already ready. The council quickly voted to halt all further monitoring of Earth's military. But even as they tried to forget, something lingered. Not fear of destruction, but fear of what lay behind humanity's smiles and silenced the deep, endless readiness. A kind of peace, built not on trust, but on quiet awareness of what must be done when the time comes. The Vralic scholars had once believed that peace was the absence of war. Now they understood humanity's version. Peace was simply the pause between battles. And in that pause, humans were watching, learning, preparing. They needed no reason to be ready. Readiness was in their nature. That was the final lesson. And for the first time in Vralic history, the Watchers became the watched.